We should start by reading the question. It's important. Which finding from Medina and her colleagues' study, if true, would most directly challenge the assumption in the underlined sentence? Most of these questions say support, but occasionally they slip in a challenge, and that's why you always got to make sure you're reading the question, not just making assumptions about what it says. So let's figure out this passage, all right? Although most songbirds build open, cupped nests, some species build domed nests with roofs that provide much more protection. Many ecologists have assumed that domed nests would provide protection from weather conditions and thus would allow species that build them to have larger geographic ranges than species that build open nests do. Okay, so what is my dumb summary here? Domed increases range. That's what they're saying, right? Yeah. Dome nests provide protection. I'm going to skip the middle pieces, but yeah, increases the range. To evaluate this assumption, a research team led by evolutionary biologist Ileana Medina analyzed data for over 2,000 species. Okay, so if we want to challenge this, right, this is why you need scrap paper for reading. Like, you should write it down. The challenged version would be that the domed somehow decrease the range, right? We want something like that the domed ones have a lower range, or the other kind of version of that is what were they called? Open had an increased range, right? So either version of that could be like the opposite of what we just read. So the red part here is my dumb summary, just literally what it says in the underlined portion. The two green lines are just two versions of the flipping of that, right? If it's a challenge, just flip the arrow, flip the word, right? That's why dumb summaries are so great, is we can kind of simplify it very easily. All right, so let's see if we get anything. A, species that build open nests tend to have higher extinction rates than the species that build dome nests. No, so extinction wasn't mentioned, so no. B, species that build open nests tend to be smaller in size than species with, no, not thinking about the size. Species that build open nests tend to use fewer materials to build their nests than species, no. D, species that build open nests tend to have larger ranges than species that build dome nests. It's literally what we just wrote, right? So look, maybe you could have held that idea in your head. This one wasn't so bad, but I like this way of thinking about dumb summaries as not just like a connotation, positive or negative, but as like a direction, an increase, a decrease. A lot of these are science passages, so there's trends. Summarize the trend, and if they want you to challenge it or undermine it in some way, you can just flip the direction of the arrow. It's that simple. So try to think of it in simple terms, and then hopefully an answer like D is just like obvious when you get to it, because you've already kind of thought about what the right answer is going to look like, so you kind of have a sense of when you've gotten it. So use the scrap paper, dumb summaries, like you just get ideas out of your brain and onto the page so you can understand them more easily.